Hello, everyone. How are you today? My name is Makeda Valletta, also known as the Renaissance Amazon. And in case you are unfamiliar with me, I am a trainer, a nutritionist, a sacred sexual educator, a dancer, and I have committed my life to studying all the ways that we could take our body to its highest level, and that's spiritually, physically, mentally, all of us intertwined. So right now I'm live on my IG page, and I'm recording on a separate camera so I can repost it to YouTube. I've been having a lot of issues with YouTube and IG lately. So if you're on YouTube and you don't follow me on Instagram, be sure to follow me. Okay, I'll write the handles below at the Renaissance Amazon 81. And if you, and also I have a backup page, Queen_Lionessa. I'll write them below. Because I've been getting so many blocks on Instagram lately, and they're threatening to take down my account. So I created a backup account. Okay, then there's also YouTube. So if you're on Instagram and you don't follow me on YouTube, please be sure to follow me at the Renaissance Amazon. Okay. Anyhow, with that being said, today I'm going to put on my sacred sexual hat. Okay, and also my dancer hat. I want to talk about the Day of the Dead, okay, and how it connects to sacred sexual practices, death, ancestors. I recorded this video a couple days ago, but I wasn't able to save it, hence why I'm doing it again and doing it on two different cameras, okay? So I was speaking for like an hour, so now I'm trying to, recall it all and make this talk even better. Hold on, my other camera's acting up. Anyhow, why is my other camera acting up? I don't know. Anyhow, so as a dancer, right? Since about 2006, I've been studying, been a serious student of dances of the African diaspora, particularly in the Americas, all right? So I've studied extensively dances from Haiti, from Dominican Republic, from Cuba, from Puerto Rico, from Colombia, from Peru, from Colombia, and even from the U.S. I'm American, right? And I realized, I'm studying, growing up in New York, there's so many different cultures, and I started realizing I know more about stuff from Brazil, I forgot to mention that country, than I do stuff from Harlem, right? Because there are Afro-American dance forms from Harlem. There are Afro-American dance forms from New Orleans, from Atlanta. So, you have like twerking and bounce. Bounce is another booty dance that is from New Orleans and is different than twerking, right? I haven't mastered those. But those dances too, I'm a student of. Maybe one day I can do it. I remember, back when I was sorry, my nose is itching. I remember back when I was in college thinking to myself, I want to study all the ways that you can move your hips. Like, this is just what the voices in my head are telling me, right? Because there's so many different ways to move the hips. Different cultures, the way they wind in Jamaica, totally different than how they wind in Haiti, okay? The way they shake in Dominican Republic is totally different than how they shake in Brazil or Peru. Okay, I'm talking about the black populations. Bounce and twerking is totally different than how Caribbeans move. Because in bounce and twerk, the girls aren't even moving their hips, but their ass is doing a lot. But in a lot of the Afro-Caribbean, Afro-South American dances, they're moving their hips a lot, right? So when you start dealing with those dances, I grew up studying ballet, which was, at the Dance Studio Harlem, which was very stiff, and you never activate your hips, right? And, I was being poked in the butt, stick your butt in, stick your butt in. I was a skinny, skinny little girl, but I still had a booty. And it made me really, self-conscious, very stiff, right? And then when I grew up, 2006, I started getting into Congolese, which the Congo is the basis of popular black dance in the Americas. So you have Afro-Brazilian samba and capoeira, Congo descent, Congo roots. Champeta in Colombia, Congo roots. Afro-Cuban rumba from Cuba, Congo roots. Merengue from Dominican Republic, Congo roots. Salsa, which has Cuban, Puerto Rican, New York, black background, Congo roots. Also bomba from Puerto Rico. And if you look at New Orleans is Congo Square, right? And so Congolese dance has a lot of very intense, the most intense hip movements. Intense. It's all about footwork and that hip work, okay? Also, Jamaican dancehall, straight Congolese, all right? A lot of the folkloric dances from Haiti, those dances, a lot of them also have a Congolese backbone. So anyhow, with that being said, right? Um, with that being said, I want to talk, so I always talk about, I have a video called Why Haitian Dance is My Yoga. And I'm very much into anthropology. So in my studies of how to take the body to its highest level, right? I'm very much science-based, but I believe that Western science hasn't confirmed anything that indigenous people didn't already know, right? I'm very much into the indigenous sciences. And also what has been written. What the people that, a lot of times people think of primitive people or the people that came before us prior to being colonized, they think of them as being inferior, but I don't, right? They had a very different mindset about sexuality and sex, okay, that we do now. The way that most people think about sex now has been affected by post-colonial patriarchal religion, okay? This is a fact. Every tradition in the world, every group of people in the world, whether it's Europeans, Asians, Africans, Native Americans, all had matriarchal traditions first, okay? And these matriarchal traditions were earth-based. And in these matriarchal traditions, there was not the same kind of suppression of sexuality where if something is not heterosexual monogamy, it's shamed. Anything that's not heterosexual monogamy is shamed, right? And there's a lot of misconceptions. Okay, now sexuality and spirituality are of the same continuum. When I tell you I'm a sacred sexual educator, I'm saying a lot of people talk about Tantra, right? And Tantra is one sacred sexual practice that derives from India. My background wasn't really too much in Tantra. It started off in Taoism, which is from ancient China, where they spent thousands of years studying the effects of different sexual actions and its effect on your health and your hormones and your longevity, okay? The sexual practices were also spiritual practices. They were doing it to obtain spiritual immortality because it was known that, the fastest way to strengthen and increase your chi was through cultivating sexual energy, right? And so there are particular practices for that. So that's how I first started getting into these studies, like around 2004, right? And it was really because I had male clients that had erectile dysfunction issues. I'm a trainer, I'm a nutritionist, a high-level trainer and nutritionist. People tell me a lot about their body, and I wanted to help them. I started researching these things, and that's when I started learning, right? And then I started coming across, female practices as well, all right? So, but in high school, I also was involved in sexuality education. I went around New York City talking to my peers, got paid to do this, about different discussions around sexuality, grassroots advocacy, and women's reproductive rights, right? It's just that as I grew up, it became something that was even more meaningful, right? And just took a different shape and form. So, with that being said, once I started studying the dances from the diaspora in 2006, and, it's like if you're doing Haitian stuff, like a lot of stuff from the diaspora, okay? I keep talking about Haitian stuff because that's going to be the bulk of my conversation. But throughout the diaspora, a lot of these dances, if you're not moving it, if your hips are stiff, you can't dance. The dances originate here. When I perform these dances, my brain goes here, right? And if you have movements where somebody is thrusting their hips or shaking their genitals or really being dramatic with it, you can't say it's not sexual. It is sexual because our sexual organs are here. This is a very powerful place in the body, right? That needs to be protected, okay? But anyhow, with that being said, when I started getting immersed in the dances from Haiti, the folkloric dances, right? I used to dance for a Haitian folkloric company in New York City, and it was run by an amazing woman, okay? And I remember, this dance called Banda, okay? It's one of my favorite Haitian dances, okay? Two of my favorite Haitian dances, and there's several of them when it comes to the folklore, is Banda and Yanvolo, okay? Banda is a dance that is done in the cemeteries November 1st, the Day of the Dead, okay? to my knowledge, Mexicans are really huge on the Day of the Dead, as are Haitians, right? The Day of the Dead is November 1st, November 2nd. I think it may be November 1st for Mexicans, November 2nd for Haitians, something like that. So around the Halloween time, right? And it's looked at as a time that the veil is the thinnest between the living and the dead. And so in Mexico, I know that they have like big feasts and parties, and they cook a lot of food for their ancestors because it's a time when the veil is the thinnest between the living and the dead, and especially those who recently passed, right? And so they have a big feast and party. In Haiti, there's that same belief in Haitian cosmology, Haitian, voodoo cosmology folklore. Is that is also when the veil is the thinnest between the living and the dead, but especially those who recently passed. So they have a big party, okay, in order to make those spirits happy and help them pass on to where they need to go. Helping to give them energy so they can be guided to where they need to go to, right? Now, with that being said, I remember, Banda, and also I think in Tantra there's something called Muta Banda or something, which is contractions of the deep pelvic floor muscles and stuff. But this dance, Banda from Haiti, is really intense winding and grinding that's very overtly sexual. It's a lovely dance, right? And I remember when I was dancing for the company, I remember the head of the company, Mickerline, she said to me, first of all, okay, when we performed this dance, we were told to wear the most scandalous outfits, okay? Like, the colors are black and purple, and a little bit of white, okay? For the Gay Day, okay? Gay Day, the spirits that have to do with the ancestors and the dead, and so the Gay Day spirits, right? So you're wearing black and purple, and we were told to have it be scandalous, right? So lots of holes in the tights and showing skin. And we, in this dance, okay, so there's so many things that I want to say that I'm trying to make sure it comes out right, in the right order. So bear with me. Okay. So Gay Day is considered to be the protector of the crossroads of children dying too soon, right? Gay Day also can wear glasses with one lens missing, okay? So sunglasses, right? So you have one sunglass lens and then one missing, and it's about being able to see in the light and the dark, the left and the right path, seeing in two worlds, right? And also, the spirit is associated with like very obnoxious, overt sexuality with humor, okay? So when this spirit is embodied, anybody who's like uptight and, like very like sexually prudish and uptight about it, very Catholic, that spirit will purposely go over to that person and do the most obnoxiously, overtly sexual thing they can do and laugh, right? Because the thinking is, we're here because our parents had sex, and then we live and we die. And we come back again because somebody had sex, and then we live, and then we die, right? It's part of the cycles of life. So there's nothing to be ashamed of. Sex is nothing to be ashamed of. And the thinking behind this, and this is what my teacher told me. I remember she said to me, when you're dead, you can have as much sex as you want, and you can be as drunk as you want, right? So the embodiment of this dance is like drunkenness off of rum, wild, obnoxious sex, because you're dead, you could do what you want, and this is fun. And we all come from sex. So why are we ashamed of it? So if somebody's all ashamed, that spirit purposely goes over and makes fun of them, taunts them by maybe sticking their crotch in the person's face and laughing or doing something pretty obnoxious, right? So I remember when we performed this dance, we used to perform a lot in the New York City area, New Jersey, Long Island, all over the boroughs and Connecticut and stuff like that. And I remember, when we did the choreography, in the dance, it would start with two girls stumbling out with rum bottles, stumbling out of the audience, bumping into people, falling into people, making people mad because most people didn't know it was a part of the show. And then the dance, would happen. And in the dance, two girls would get into a fight. One girl sorry, my speaker. One girl kills the other girl, right? So the girl's laying on the ground dead. Let's say girl A is laying on the ground, like just a dead body, right? All of us women are dancing around her, right? We have canes, which are phallic symbols. We have canes, and we're dancing around her and, doing these stabbing motions at her body, and her body's jerking on the ground. Then, after we do that, one girl dances over girl A, who's laying on the ground. She dances over her dead body, but in a very sexual and erotic way. And then another girl does it, very sexual and erotic way. Okay? And then there is a time in the dance when we all start doing solos. Okay? Now, I'm recalling this choreography. I haven't done this in a while. But we all start doing solos, and they were always really freaky and, obnoxiously sexual. Okay, girls humping the floor, girls doing all types of stuff, right? And actually, a lot of what you see, I've seen at Congolese sukus. A lot of you may not know about Congolese sukus or a lot of Congolese traditional dance. Like I told you, so much is rooted in the Congo. Congolese dance is very different than what West African dance that we do here in the U.S. to the djembe. It's very yang and it's very up in the air, right? The Congo drums and the Congo rhythms are very deep. They speak to the hips. Every movement starts with the hips and is very intense, right? And very sexual. And so the banda dance is straight Congolese, right? So anyhow, I remember, that understanding of, we're doing this dance to please the dead, okay? To make them happy so they can go on in peace, which is the same type of thinking you see in New Orleans Second Line, okay? New Orleans also has a close connection to Haiti. But in New Orleans Second Line, it's like a party at death, okay, that they traditionally did. They did it to raise money too, but the second line was the dancers. The first line was the band, but the dancers became so popular that they went in front of the band, and that's the second line, right? But it's dope, dancing to dope music. It's a big party, and sometimes they'll have cutouts of the person that's dead, and they're dancing all sexual on them, and that's weird to people. But that's like a different manifestation of also that mindset of what you're seeing in Haiti, right? The dancing at death, or to help shake it off of you, right? So you don't sit in the not being able to let go, but sitting in the sadness so that spirit can't go on in peace. When somebody is mourning too hard and they can't let go, it can be hard for that spirit to transition, right? But also that dancing helps to uplift and send energy to them, right? So, so that's always what I think about, when Halloween time comes. I think that the kids dressing up in costumes is so cute. I'm not really into the adults too much, unless it's super sexy women, okay? I like looking at the women on Halloween who have super sexy outfits, okay? Not the ones who have bad wigs on or silly outfits or grotesque outfits or I don't know, like 95% of people, adults, I'm good. I'm just not into the adults in costumes thing. I think the kids are cute. I'm not anti-Halloween. I'm not anti the costumes. But the fact of the matter is, there's a deeper meaning to it. Okay? There's a deeper meaning. And if you think about it, it's during Scorpio season. And Scorpio, okay, that is also like a snake symbolism. And patriarchal religion, hold on. Patriarchal religion teaches that snakes are evil and they're bad omens. But in all factuality, snakes are symbols of the goddess, okay? And serpentine kundalini energy, because the kundalini energy, that sacred sexual energy, that coiled up snake at the base of the spine, right? And spirally energy is female energy. But snakes can also be straight and be phallic in nature, phallic energy as well. Snakes symbolize initiation, resurrection, transformation as they shed its skin, right? Divine wisdom, spiritual, and sexual energy. and healing energy. Because please understand, sexual energy is healing energy, okay? So snakes symbolize all of those things. Whew! Sorry, I was just about to turn it. I wanted to show you a book. Hold on a minute. This whole thing is falling now. I have books. You know, I always got books for you. But I had my laptop resting on the books. So I'm going to have to figure this out. Okay. I told you my other favorite Haitian dance was a dance called Yanvalou. Yanvalou is a dance they do to welcome the spirits in the beginning of ceremonies, but it's associated with snakes and eggs, right? And water. It's a serpentine dance, okay? And in that dance, it's a lot of undulating. Comes from Benin, okay? Haitian voodoo has a serious backbone from Benin, but Haitian voodoo is a mixture of African and Arawak Taino traditions. So it's Afro-Indigenous. It's part African and it's part indigenous from AT, okay? It's both of those things. Now, this is, you know, I always have books to show you. This is a good book to check out if you want to learn more about serpents and DNA, right? So you have The Cosmic Serpent, DNA and the Origin of Knowledge, right? I read this book like over 10 years ago. And so, you know, the serpents, when you have the two snakes, right? Every medical symbol in the world that I know of, every country that I've been to and asked them, they told me they had the same medical symbol, which is the two snakes going up the staff, right? Because snakes symbolize healing energy. I did tell you that, right? But they also symbolize sexual energy, spiritual energy, which tells you that those three things are connected. Sexual energy and spiritual energy are of the same continuum, okay? I learned this first studying Taoism, but I really learned it when I started embodying the dances of the African diaspora, particularly in the Americas, okay? And I say particularly in the Americas because there's a different dance. There's a difference between the dances from the Americas and the dances from Africa. Our experience over here and the mixture with indigenous people makes a lot of things, some things different. Anyhow, I forgot what I was saying. In my research, I look at art, okay? Ancient art, you know, what is written in stone, because indigenous people, copper-colored indigenous people, you know, coal-colored indigenous people, you know, all the browns and reds, right? We have oral traditions. We didn't write down things the way the Chinese keeps documents for thousands of years. The Chinese are very linear, you know, very technical in that way. Africans, indigenous people from the Americas, whatever, like, our traditions are more oral. So it's important if you want to learn the cosmology and trust and believe there's a lot of important science embedded in that cosmology, okay? You have to look at the ancient art. You have to look at what was written in stone. People always say, oh, that wasn't written in stone. Yeah, so pay attention to what is written in stone. It's very important. How do you do that? You look at artifacts and you look at cave art. Okay, you look at cave art. So this is, hold on, let me show you another book. Let me not have my laptop fall. I'm trying to get this book out. Hold on, I need to get this book. Hold on a minute. I have like a stack of books. And I need this to hold these up. Oh, hold on, I know what I'm gonna do. Give me a second. See, that's what I need. I've been needing camera people. It's hard shooting my videos and doing that stuff. Give me a second. Hold on a minute. Just one more book. Okay. I think it's good now. All right. So another good and important book. Hold on. a second. Fixing this other camera. Okay. So another good and important book when I'm talking about cave art, this book right here, The Serpent and the Fire. The Serpent and the Fire, Fertility Images in Southwest Rock Art. So this is actually done with rock art in the southwest of the U.S. It's very erotic, highly erotic. Okay, you see the connection between, see like even in this video, in this picture, you see mother, there's a baby in here, right? But in here, there's a lot of eroticism in this cave art that's associated with hunting, the connection between sex, hunting, birth, all of those things, okay? Life and death. Even when indigenous people were dealing with, plants, like in the spring, you have the harvest, you have Easter. That time there were sacred sexual rites that were very sexual because humans having sex was connected with the fertility of the land. Human fertility connected with fertility of the land, okay? So there's sacred sexual rites around that. There's also, highly sacred sexual rites, and these are all the pagan holidays. Easter, Halloween, Christmas, they're pagan, right? Pagan doesn't mean evil. It means earth-based traditions, okay? And every culture in the world had earth-based traditions, all right? So Hallows Eve, Halloween, is really the Day of the Dead, okay? All Souls Day. It's a spiritual meaning behind it. It's not the devil. It's not evil, okay? Now, I think that the way people walking around wanting to be something chopped up and they got an axe in their head, that shit is gross, and I'm really not with that. I like the sexy side of Halloween. You can keep all that grotesque shit over there, right? So I'm going to read you. There's so many things that I want to say, and I said in my last video, and I just want to be sure that I say it all this time, because like I said, I recorded this video a couple of days ago, and it didn't save, so I'm doing it again. I had to really get my mind space back up to do this again, right? Now, I told you about Gede being clown-like, humorous, but also highly sexual, and making fun of people who had a problem with overt sexuality, right? And I'm definitely going to say that to me, good sex is important in life, okay? This is my side note. I listen to so many people talk about relationships as if sex isn't that important. But then they're into monogamy. And that's my issue, right? To me, life is too short to have a bad sex life. So many people, and sex is super healing. When you have good sex, it helps you glow more. It helps you be in a better mood. Okay, this is for men and women. Okay, people want to focus on the negative so much. Oh, if you have sex with, people with bad energy, is gonna, yeah, that's true. You don't want to have sex with people with bad energy, but if you have sex with people with good energy, you can get a lot of good things from that, right? And so many people, like so many women, for example, hold themselves up, because they want a man so bad that, and society makes it seem like what matters is that a man has money. And so there are women who are like, okay, well, he's a good provider. The sex isn't great, but they'll get with him anyway. So either they're going to commit to a life of bad sex, okay, or a horrible sex life, or they're going to be cheating. And it's like, it's a lot of illusion out there. I'm just saying, I don't believe in waiting till marriage till you have sex. No, sexual compatibility is some real shit. Okay? So, patriarchal religion puts shame in that people are shamed so much. People who have a high sex drive, people who are highly sexual, people who are not happy because the relationship they're in, they're being denied sex, and whether it's a man or a woman, because that can happen on both sides, people is made to seem like that's not important. But I think it's very much important, because remember, sexual energy is also healing energy, right? Yep. So I'm going to read something out of this book. Now, this book is called Divine Horsemen, The Living Gods of Haiti, written by a woman named Maya Deren, right? She's actually a Jewish woman. But one of my friends, this book is a classic book. She also made a documentary out of it, which I never watched. It's a black and white. This was written years ago. But I have a Haitian friend in New York. He comes from a legendary drummer musician family. And he told me that, you could say voodoo family. He told me this book is the real shit. Like, it's actually, and so I learned a lot about Haitian folklore cosmology from this book. Because studying the dances, my teachers, they didn't explain a lot. Hold on, somebody's asking me a question. Okay, ask the question. Let me see. They didn't always explain a lot of what it meant. I had, to learn a lot of things on my own. I mean, when you're embodying certain things, there's certain knowledge that's going to come to you, right? So when I talk about embodying a dance, it's one thing to watch a dance. Okay, so I'm going to get back to this question, okay, that you asked. If a man hurts you or cheats, is it foolish to continue sleeping with him? I have a whole bunch to say about that, which could take us to another topic. So that may be for another. Send that message to my DM because I may make another video about that. Okay. The way that I see sexuality and sex is a little bit. I don't want to say different. It could be different, but I think it's just more rooted in reality than most people. But I will get into that. Okay. Oh yeah. So when you actually embody dances, there's a lot of things that you learn. Like you learn things by watching them, but you learn even more when you're actually doing them, okay? So I did learn a lot from embodying these dances, but then I also learned a lot from, reading certain things like this. So I'm just going to read something out of here to you about Gay Day, okay? I just explained what I explained. So this is, says, let me see. Okay, Gay Day. Corpse and phallus, king and clown. Okay, you heard that? Corpse and phallus, king and clown. And remember I told you about that dance that we did when we did Banda. And the girl was dead. And there's these sexual dances over her. And we're dancing with the canes, which are very phallic symbols. And it was very sexual, right? But then it's also humorous at the same time, okay? Okay, so Gay Day. Corpse and phallus, king and clown. If Legba was the sun, at first young, then growing old, Gay Day is the matter of that abyss into which the sun descends. If Legba was time, then Gay Day is that eternal figure in black, posted at the timeless crossroads at which all men and even the sun one day arrive. The cross upon a tomb is his symbol, but the sun is each year reborn. If Carnivore is the night death which attends each day, then Gay Day is the night sun, the life which is eternally present even in darkness. The cosmic abyss is both tomb and womb. Okay, you hear that? Both tomb and womb. And let me tell you something. In matriarchal pagan traditions, women were in charge of the tomb and the womb. We were the ones in charge of death, funerary practices, okay? And funeral rites, and also birth rites, okay? So let me just say. All right, let me get back to it. In a sense, Gay Day is the Legba who has crossed the cosmic threshold to the underworld. For Gay Day is now everything that Legba once was, and the promise and the prime of his life. Indeed, it is to Gay Day Nimbo that they now sing, quote, after God we are in your hands, Gay Day Nimbo, end quote. As if he were the first and most immediate expression of original creation. They also call him Rising Sun. Gay Day is today the phallic deity also. Gay Day is today the phallic deity also. If Legba was once Lord of Life, Gay Day is now Lord of Resurrection. And the difference between them is death, which is Gay Day. It is the knowledge of death that has transfigured Legba and has given to all that they have in common the particular color and accent which is Gay Day. Life for Gay Day is not the exalted creation of primal ardor. It is a destiny, the inevitable and eternal erotic in men. Okay? The inevitable and eternal erotic in men. He is Lord of that eroticism, which being inevitable is therefore beyond good and evil, and is beyond the elations and despairs of love. Of this he is neither proud nor ashamed. If anything, he is amused by the eternal persistence of the erotic, and by man's eternally persistent pretense that it is something else. Okay, I hope you guys heard that. He may gently ridicule the sentimental by singing in childish syllables. I love you, love, he loves, she loves. What does that make l'amour? He may mimic the passionate, or again, he may invent variations on the theme of provocation, ranging from suggestive mischief to lascivious aggression. His greatest delight is to discover someone who pretends to piously heroic or refined immunity. He will confront such a one and expose him savagely, imposing upon him the most lascivious gestures and the most extreme obscenities. Thus he introduces men to their own devil. For whoever would consider sex a sin creates and confronts in Gede his own guilt. Such incidents amuse him, but they represent no real change, for he knows that no one can elude him, who is master of both life and death. At death, he is the keeper of the cemetery, guardian of the past, of the history and heritage of the race. The cross of Baron Samedi, as Gede is sometimes called, Baron Samedi, as Gede is sometimes called, is in every cemetery, and the graves that are under the special protection of his female counterpart, Madame Brigitte, are marked by a mound of stones. Just as one must first address Legba for divine counsel, so whoever would seek ancestral counsel or support must first address Gede. He is officially notified of marriages, births, quarrels, troubles, all major projects for the future stems from the past. And if a man would deny him as his past, Gede will remind him that he is also his future. Okay? Now on the bottom, this is a little side note, right? It says, Gede's unfailing discernment of attitudes towards sexuality accounts, I believe, for the sexual emphasis which visitors have found in Voodoo. For nothing will more quickly provoke Gede's appearance in his defiant, overt obscenities than the presence of white visitors, particularly those of Puritan tradition. Sexual obscenity and the breaking of taboos is characteristic of the death figure in many mythologies, including that of the American Indians. Okay? So, now, there's a lot that was said here, okay? He talked about the reality of men's eroticism, right? Which is something that, for me, I don't think that men should be punished for. But I also don't think women should be either, right? So this is the problem with patriarchal religions. If people hear this thing about the patriarchy, they think that you're just saying, oh, men are evil or men are bad. No. Okay? If you actually go back and look, there's another book that I didn't bring over here called The Great Cosmic Mother. Everybody should read this book, The Great Cosmic Mother. I feel like everybody should, right? Because it really explains this shift from matriarchy to patriarchy and through the world's three main religions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, and how they destroyed all these, like I told you, indigenous people had oral traditions. It was destroyed by patriarchy, okay? A lot of things they tried to destroy. But a lot of this ancient cave art is being discovered all around the world, okay? That tells a lot of things. But this is why in the dances, I can say, as an Afro-Indigenous person from the Americas, I'm American, right? I'm not Haitian. But my bloodlines come from Florida, right? And there's an intertwined history in the Americas. And my bloodlines on both sides come from Florida, okay? My dad is from St. Augustine, Florida, which is the oldest town in America. St. Augustine is it's a sister city of Cartagena, Colombia. It's also very much connected to Matanzas, Cuba, because at one point a lot of the Africans and indigenous people in St. Augustine were shipped to Matanzas, Cuba, which Matanzas means massacres, okay? And if you know about the Black Seminoles of Florida, that's what they was about. There's a lot of Black Seminoles that went to the Bahamas, okay? Because they were just about their life, all right? So I very much resonate with Haitian cosmology and things that derive, that things that Haiti has touched, right? So New Orleans, one of my favorite cities. I'm from New York, but one of my favorite cities on earth is New Orleans. New Orleans has more in common with Haiti than it does with the rest of the U.S. I currently live in Chicago, and I love Chicago. Before I moved to Chicago, I've been here for 4.5 years, didn't know until after I was here for a couple years that Chicago was founded by a Haitian man. A lot of people don't know that. Haitians know it, Chicagoans know it, but most people don't seem to know that. And I'm like, oh, that's so funny that I end up here, right? the whole diaspora has very beautiful arts. I've studied dances, from, like I told you, a lot of different countries. But Haiti stuff, the folklore from Haiti has taught me the most and had the biggest influence on me. I could talk for the next few hours about different examples of embodied knowledge that I have from studying things from Brazil, from Cuba, from Puerto Rico, from Colombia, yada yada. I could, talk about that forever. But right now, because I'm talking about the Day of the Dead, and I'm talking about Gay Day season, and I'm talking about Haitian cosmology, because it has had the biggest influence. It's like there's a lot of wisdom, history, knowledge, and medicine encoded in their dances and their rhythms. Not just them, but Haiti has that sauce for real, okay? And the more that I studied, the rest of the diaspora, Haiti is the backbone. Haiti's in Cuba's history. Haiti's in Puerto Rico shit. Haiti's in the U.S. I mean, it's like they influence so much that they don't even get credit for it. You know what I'm saying? So I always give props to where it's due, and this is what I've learned through my studies, right? So anyhow, going back to what I just read about Gay Day, talked about, because matriarchal religions patriarchal religions, some of them, like Islam, let men have multiple wives. But if you're, Christianity, you're supposed to just have this one wife, or you get shamed, or maybe not, because a lot of men do have cheat a lot. But it's still like men can get away with it more than women, but they still can get shamed for that. And of course, women definitely do, right? Another important book. Hold on a second. Well, see, I have this. Hold on a minute. This book is all the way in the bottom of this stack, and I want to talk about it now. So hold on. I'm sorry. The stack of books is holding up my laptop. Oh, I know what I can do. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So, yeah, some of the things, all right. So, one of the best books ever written on human sexuality, period, okay, is this book, Sex at Dawn. This is a New York Times bestseller. Sex at Dawn, right? And this book, most of the books written on human sexuality are full of it. It says stuff like, thank you for the compliment. It says stuff like, men want to spread their seed and women just want loyalty so they can have a baby or something. That's not true, okay? Men and women, a lot of people can't deal with the harsh realities of life. But men and women are not meant to be monogamous, okay? And if you look at different traditional cultures prior to them being colonized, monogamy didn't exist. Marriage existed, not monogamy, okay? And this book goes into that in depth, okay? And it also goes into the science behind, like most animals are not monogamous. But animals who are monogamous, the men don't thrust during sex, okay? The thrusting during sex is something that non-monogamous creatures do, and there's a whole scientific reason for that. I'm not going to get super into that, okay, in this video. But this book, Sex at Dawn, if you think monogamy is natural, read this. You'll learn and understand a lot about where we come from, okay? And this is what I'm saying, but that stuff in some of these books just confirm things I learned in the dances and the embodied wisdom, right? When you look at the cave art, okay, and in what I just read you about Gay Day, it said that was something that was known amongst, the American Indian population, right? This sexual clown type character, the sexual, and I told you Haitian voodoo is not just African, okay? It's not just African. There are huge Native American, Taino, Arawak influences in it. Yeah, no, Sex at Dawn is the best book on sexuality ever written, hands down, okay? And, hold on a second. There's so much more to even read about Gay Day. That was one thing that I had read. But when it says, the death figures in many mythologies The sexual obscenity and the breaking of taboos is characteristic of the death figure in many mythologies, including that of the American Indians. So yeah, like this, understanding why wild sex is important, while good sex is important, while expressing your sexuality is important. Under patriarchal religion, which you have nature and you have society. Society is dictated by religion, patriarchal religion. It's an exact opposition with nature. And nature is what? Mother Nature, Mother Earth, right? Mother Earth, Mother Nature is in opposition of Father Patriarchy. Okay, they try to suppress the bodies of men and women. All right, and I'm not never with no tradition where a man can have multiple wives. Okay, because in some cultures, I mean, I don't mind. Actually, no. Let me say this: I don't mind if a man can have multiple wives, but then I'm gonna have multiple husbands. Okay, because just like men feel like, oh, they like variety, so do women. If a man feels like, in certain cultures, you might have, how do I feel about monogamy personally? Okay, so I'm going to answer that question. I used to be totally against it, right? It doesn't mean that I can't fall in love with somebody. It's just that the way that I see sexuality and sex is not connected to love. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, you can have sex with somebody that you love and it's great and it's deep. But sometimes sex for me is nothing. It's not about love. It's just about connecting. It's about fun, pleasure, whatever. And you have different connections to people. It's like I love, like, maybe New York. I live in Chicago now, but let's say New York was the city that I wanted to live in, right? But that doesn't mean that I don't travel to other cities. I don't want to live in New Orleans. I don't want to live in LA. I don't want to live in DC, but maybe I visit those cities sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to stay in New York all the time. All right? New York can't meet every single need of mine. You know what I'm saying? Because there's certain things in this other city that I don't have in New York, right? Or whatever. But New York might be my number one love and then where I want my home base to be. I feel like that can also happen with people, right? And I feel like, I always said to myself, when I asked if I could be monogamous, I'm like, I could be monogamous if I was with a man who, like, was able to please me like that, was committed to that. Because the problem with monogamy is that people expect one person to meet all of their needs all the time, and that's really unrealistic, and it's a lot of pressure to put on somebody. So you're with somebody for years, people's sex drives change. Somebody might be sick, or, they're going through something, or, whatever, and it doesn't mean the other person doesn't have sexual needs. Now, if the other partner, still loves you, you're going through something, you can't have sex, whatever it may be, they may still love you, and maybe they could deal with that for a month or two, or whatever time period, but not for, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. There are people in sexless marriages, right? And there are people who are in sexless marriages. So many people say that. And like I said, life is too short to me, okay, to be doing that. Now, if you're with somebody, like, like I know there's a lot of women that have babies, and some women, they don't get their sex drive back for a couple of years. Now, that man may love her, right? And maybe he doesn't want to break up his family, but he has other sexual needs, though. Maybe he does something behind her back. Because I don't feel like anybody should do something they don't want to do. So if sex is going to be uncomfortable for you or painful for you, I don't feel like you should be doing that, right? You shouldn't be forced to do that. Nobody should. But at the same time, if somebody else has needs, I feel like it's wrong for them to just, go extended periods of time and their needs aren't being met. Because, I mean, I kind of feel that to be selfish. It's the way a lot of people think is that, because somebody loves them and they're in a relationship, now they own their body. I don't think that way, right? So, but then if that man does something and she doesn't know about it, and then she finds out, of course, she's really pissed, and now the whole family might break up. Now she might divorce him. Now the whole family's broken up, right? So that's one scenario. Or it could be, oh, he tries to tell you, and you get upset anyway. Family is broken up over, and I just don't feel like families should break up over stuff like that. Now I feel like it's crazy if a man is doing something and having a whole secret family. I think that's messed up. Now on the flip side, though, okay, I feel like a lot of women are very accepting, are more accepting of men who cheat and do things, even though they might be hurt. A lot of men do treat women as if they don't get hurt. But every situation is not the same, right? Every situation is not super scandalous. I'm not with people having sex with your sister and your family members, and some people take it too far. But let's say, but still, there are a lot of women who are way more forgiving about that. When the tables are turned, there's a lot less men that will accept it if a woman does it. And the fact of the matter is, there's men also who aren't pleasing their women. There are men who get erection issues, okay? I've been in relationships. Well, I was in a relationship with a man, okay, that I love very much, but he had erection issues. Also, his phallus wasn't big enough for me. But I bypassed a rule of mine, which was never to fall in love before I have sex with a person. And I did fall in love with him before I had sex with him, okay? And then I was really like, I really fucks with him. But the sexual stuff was a little bit lacking. And then, it was kind of good at first. It wasn't the best shit ever, but it was good. But then it kind of went downhill because he started having erection problems. And we actually were in an open relationship. But when I'm with somebody and I'm in love with someone, I really just like to be up under them. I'm not somebody that needs to be running around doing, and just because people have an open relationship doesn't mean that you're running around doing everything either, okay? It doesn't mean that either. And when I'm in love with somebody, I do really like to be up under them, right? I don't have a desire to be around other people, but with him, he just having erection problems, and I can't do that. Me personally, I'm not the type of woman that's built to not have sex for all this time, and I don't want to be mean to a man. I'm not going to say, what the fuck is wrong with you? Because I don't feel like that's going to help. You know what I'm saying? So I had to get my needs met elsewhere. I didn't want to do that. And I don't want to be in a relationship with somebody where I need to go somewhere else to get my needs met. But that's the reality of a lot of people's relationships. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I have yet to, it's hard. Like a lot of times the people that I've had the best sex with ever, it's not the people that I end up in relationships with. If you could align that shit, it'd be great. So if I was with somebody who, is really committed to that, and we matched each other in that way, and they did their best to keep my needs met as I do for them, then yeah, I could deal with monogamy. But even then still, I feel like there needs to be a disclaimer, because you don't know what someone's going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years. So if I say that now because you're showing me that now, but you ain't showing me that in the future, I can't know if I can keep that promise. So that's just the reality being real with me. I think a lot of people don't want to be real because they're so afraid of how society is going to judge them. And honestly, it's, dances, it's studying a lot of these dances and this ancient sacred wisdom has opened my mind up a lot. And a lot of times I feel like it's hard for me to exist in this world. I have to have tough skin, right? And I don't want to complain because there are a lot of people who have rougher issues. But I feel like a lot of times I'm very much misunderstood. For me, like I said, I've committed my life to studying all the ways we take our body to its highest level. I feel like I'm not from this time and place, right? So when I study these ancient dances and ancient art and read books that talk about that, then it just confirms things I already intuitively felt and knew, right? And so before we were colonized, we were naked, okay? Women were not wearing bras. Women weren't wearing panties, okay? And, child, mother, grandmother had their nipples out, okay? And men weren't freaking out and raping women. That was normal because melanated people need to get sun. If you're from a hot place, you were naked. People from cold places, that was different. But we need to get sun on our skin, right? The body is sexual, but the body doesn't have to be. When people overly sexualize the body, a lot of times that's coming from suppression, right? And when you don't ever, it's just a lot of layers. And the patriarchal religion has done a number on people. But going back, to what, talking about Gede and that energy, it's just about the open-mindedness of it all, the healing power of it all, the fact that good sex can raise your chi a lot, right? And that's what you want to do even in prayer, okay? So, and just with transforming energy, okay? So starting back in 2007, I started teaching a class to women called Sensual Strength Training. And, using, that's something I forgot. These nani eggs, okay? Some rose quartz nani egg. I've been working with these since 2005. Started teaching women in 2006. Using this is a great tool for women to cultivate her sexual energy, right? Get control, not just get stronger, vaginal muscles, pelvic floor muscles, but also have more control. When you have more control, it arouses more energy within you, and it arouses more energy within your partner, okay? Be it male or female. Okay. Now, if you see this necklace, that's around here, this right here, what does this look like? Okay. It's the vaginal opening, the vulva, vaginal opening right here. You have, I don't know if you can see this circular thing. This is the clit, the external clit that we see, okay, the button that we see. But the clit is internal. So this right here, all the places where you see the brass, if you can, let me come closer. If you can see the brass here and then out here, right? You know what all this is? That's the internal clitoris, okay? So the clitoris is not just this dot that you see, the button that we all think of. It's internal. So when a woman works with an egg and she's working on these muscles, it also stimulates the clit internally. This is even how vaginal orgasms happen, right? Why some women have vaginal orgasms, the clit is still involved because the clit is not just right here. Okay, and so there are too many women who say that they haven't had an orgasm. I've met women with 3-4 kids, never had an orgasm, right? I don't meet men that say that. And there's a lot of I can get into that. But just my point is, it's important to be able to cultivate that energy, okay? Intense orgasmic energy is very healing. People get shamed so much for that. I want to do a whole talk on porn because I was listening to a porn conversation earlier, and I even think that with porn, it's like if you look at erotic art, ancient art, it's always, there's a lot of eroticism in ancient art, overtly, okay? That's why I love looking at pre-Columbian, pre-colonial art, because nipples are emphasized, genitals are emphasized, okay? Sexual positions are emphasized. Okay, I've seen this in Colombia, I've seen it in Mexico, you see it in African art, the ancient art, right? That tells you a lot. And it was known that when the colonizers came to the Caribbean, they were greeted by, Native American chiefs that were sharing their wives with the settlers. Because they didn't look at it like they owned their wife. Like they didn't own this land, they didn't own this food, they didn't own this air. They believed in sharing. It was a gift. It was the colonizers that came with this mindset of, oh, I conquered your wife, which is how a lot of men think today. Okay, that's not how they thought. And they were very sexual people. So, a lot of this stuff in Haitian voodoo, and like I'm talking about this Gede spirit, is very much connected to American Indian, okay? And I haven't, and somebody please correct me if I'm wrong because I don't know everything, I just know what I've studied and what I've come across, but I haven't seen Africans into the Day of the Dead like I have with Mexicans and Haitians, okay? And you go into any Mexican restaurant, you see the skulls, you see the skeletons. That's all Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, okay? Big deal every year. And all year round, they got the skeletons, right? Haitian Gede also is the same kind of symbolism, okay? I just want to make sure I said everything I need to say. Now, another important book, Dancing Wisdom. Dancing Wisdom. Embodied Knowledge of Haitian Voodoo, Bahian Candomblé, and Cuban Yoruba, okay? Those are 3 African-based traditions, Cuba, Brazil, and Haiti. This woman, Yvonne Daniels, she's a dancer, a trained dancer and anthropologist, okay? Also was a professor. And this is a really good book where she goes into, like I told you, I could spend an hour talking about the different dances from Haiti, from Brazil, from Cuba, and the things that it's taught me, because they all have embodied wisdom. Embodied wisdom, that's what I'm saying. The embodied knowledge, embodied wisdom comes with doing these dances in a way that you really only understand when you do them. Okay, and all the body parts are involved. There's medicine and there's lessons in them. Very, very good book, okay? This book, The Woman in the Shaman's Body, okay? The Woman in the Shaman's Body, Reclaiming the Feminine in Religion and Medicine by Barbara Tetlock, PhD, okay? Now, this book is also a very good book, and it goes into depth about the connection between sexual energy and female shamanism, orgasm, the female brain, its capacity for orgasm, and how that connects to female shamanism, okay? But like I said, sexual energy is spiritual energy, okay? You don't believe me? Check out some of these books. I think, one more book, The Black Dancing Body, From Coon to Cool, okay? The Black Dancing Body, from coon to cool. A geography from coon to cool. That's what it says. By Brenda Dixon Gottschalk, right? My live video ended. Hold on. Hold on. It ended on Instagram. I should save this. Get a. Hold on. My camera stopped on Instagram, so give me 1 second while I. Give me 1 second. See, this is why I'm so glad I recorded this on the two cameras. I did this other camera for YouTube. I was on my IG live. It ended at an hour, so it's been an hour and a minute. As soon as I save this, I'm gonna continue. Just give me 1 moment. Again, if you're on YouTube, you don't follow me on Instagram, be sure to follow me. I'm gonna put my 2 pages below. Okay. Give me a second. Okay, guys, I was just talking and the camera stopped, so I saved that part 1. This is part 2. I forget what I was saying. I was almost done, okay? But getting back to it, yeah, so, this book by Brenda Dixon Gottschalk, right? The Black Dancing Body. It explores a lot of important things, and I feel like anybody who's studying Black American culture, whether you're a Black American or not, this is an important book to read, right? And I feel like this is an important book for Black Americans to read. But as a little girl, I studied classical ballet as a dance theater in Harlem. And ballet is very linear, very stiff. You never activate your hips. You never move your hips. If anything shakes or jiggles, it's shaking and jiggling is a no-no in ballet. And if you have hips or breast or booty, you're like, penalized and tormented over it, right? So anything feminine, the feminine attributes are the womanly attributes, let me say, womanly, is not welcomed in ballet, right? And as a Black woman, the way we're built, a lot of times we have flat feet, we have the booty, and it goes through a really good history about these things, right? And reading stuff like this just further strengthens, who I am and what I do. Because a lot of you who follow me, you see me dancing in bikinis, but it's like, first of all, I love bikinis, okay? I don't like having a lot of clothes, but my indigenous ancestors did not either. As a dancer, it's about seeing the body. Even when you do ballet, you're wearing a leotard and tights. You don't have on sweatpants and a hoodie because they want to see your lines. So as a dancer, they're looking at, the movements. And when I think about, okay, how would I live my life if I wasn't affected by colonialism? Because we're all affected by it, right? And most people don't feel good being an outcast in society. Most people just kind of want to, you want to blend in and just live a normal life. I do too. I wish I could be like that, but I'm not. So I feel like I'm very much misunderstood because if you don't understand what we came from and the brainwashing, then a lot of people, when you even if somebody sees me do, like, if you see a girl in Brazil doing samba in a bikini and she's topless, people say that's culture. That's culture. But if it's a Black girl in Atlanta twerking, oh, now she's disrespecting herself. All these girls twerking, they're disrespecting themselves. Twerking is not even easy to do, but it's also healing, okay? And women will twerk whether men are around or not. I have seen so many groups of women, but there's no dudes in sight, twerking for each other. You know why? Because it feels good. Sometimes men are allowed to watch. Sometimes they do it for men or allow them to watch. Men should be grateful for that, okay? But it's not, women don't just do that because of men. Women do it naturally. I've taught so many pole parties where there's no men around. These women are twerking for each other, okay? You said, yes, you like it when a man wants to order himself, which is now strange to you. Yeah, a lot of people want that. I mean, some people do want you all to themselves, but that doesn't mean that they don't want other people themselves and that they won't do something else themselves. Some people want you all to themselves, but some people like to hold you hostage while they do other things, right? To me, I just feel like if I love somebody, I want them to feel good and be happy, right? I don't want to control anybody. And if somebody just wants to be up under me, then great, right? But I don't want them to just be up under me because they feel like they have to. And they're sitting there having secret thoughts and desires that are like burning them up inside. Now they have a secret life because that happens a lot, you know? Um, and I just feel like because there are people who want to have sex with other people, but they love the person they're with. Okay, just because somebody has sex with somebody else doesn't mean they want to be with that person. And I think a lot of people can't understand that, and people just have a very rigid way of thinking. If you love me and you're committed to me, then you can have sex with anybody else. And I just don't think that way. But if a man comes at me like that, like I can't be accepting of him being that way if he can't be accepting of me being that way. Because a lot of women are like that. A lot of women will say, "Oh, all men cheat. They're gonna cheat anyway." And so, blah, 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 but a woman shouldn't do that. I disagree with that. I mean, don't do it if you don't want to. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, for me, if a dude does that and he wants me to understand, oh, it didn't mean anything, okay. And you won't understand that when I do it, it don't mean anything either. Because that's how I am. You know? And there's a lot of women like me. It's just that a lot of them just aren't vocal about it. Because people want to be accepted by society. And I do believe, I do know a few people who I have a few friends, male and female, who are in monogamous relationships, and I really do believe that they're actually monogamous, because people say they're in a monogamous relationship and they be doing other shit, okay, let's be real. I don't know how many men with girlfriends and wives be messing with somebody else, but women do it too, because how many men have messed with a woman who was married or had a dude? So, I mean, it happens a lot. So that means a lot of people are fronting. And that's something I saw when I was in my early 20s. I'm like, I like to deal with the real. I'm not with the illusions. There's times in my life when I have been with somebody and I didn't want to be around anybody else. But once that person drops the ball and they aren't holding shit down the way they were, then that changes for me. Okay? I'm going to do another video about cheating. People are asking me questions. Send the questions to my inbox. I'll do another video another live about that, and I'll answer those questions. I don't want to get too deep into that because I'm really trying to stick on the fact of indigenous mindset about sex. They didn't have any of these problems, okay? They didn't think like this. There was marriage, right? There was the female role in society and the male role in society, and that's how societies function. But they weren't just having sex with each other, and that's just the reality of it. And if you study more pre-colonial cultures, you will see that. They didn't have the same uptight thinking about sex that we have now, which is totally dictated by patriarchal religion and colonialism, okay? There may be people out there who are in a monogamous relationship where their partner is truly meeting all their needs. I don't think that's most people, though. Most people are either settling for less, they're unhappy, they're in a sexist relationship, marriage, or whatever, or other things, you know? So I'm just saying, like, sex and love is not always so tied up the way people like to believe. And men, it's their ego, because men feel like women should understand it when they have other desires, and, oh, I didn't love her, it was just sex. But if a woman did that, most men couldn't handle that. I know men who could, and those are the men that I like, right? But most men can't handle that, and I don't like that double standard. If you want her to understand it with you, understand it with her, okay? And a lot of women are too scared to even speak that truth, because women, they want a man so bad, they feel like they have to really, like, you know, tiptoe on his ego and not say what they truly want, which is one of the things that I love about this egg work. I've seen so many women work with these eggs, and they start saying what they really want. Men are kind of intimidated by women when they get in that power, okay? So anyhow, I think that I've said every time I do videos, when I'm done, I'm like, oh, I meant to say this, I meant to say that. And I told you I did this video over from a few days ago. But I think that I've said everything I need to say. I think I've been talking long enough. Whatever I didn't say, it'll be another video. So if you know anything about Gay Day, okay, Banda. I was going to do a Banda dance for you, but it's just so hard for me to dance in this space, and, you know, but I may eventually do it. But if you know anything about Gay Day season, please share. Okay? If you learned something from this video, please like it. Please share it. Check out some of these books. If you have never taken a Haitian dance class, Haitian folkloric dance, I highly recommend it. Unfortunately, you really only can find it in New York and the Bay. I think South Florida just started having a class, Haitian dance class, but there used to not be one in South Florida either, so it's very hard to find. But if you're ever in the New York City area, the Bay Area, attend some Haitian folkloric dance classes for sure. If you have any teacher suggestions, hit me up because I have teacher suggestions. If you follow me on Instagram and not YouTube, be sure to follow me on YouTube. If you follow me on YouTube and not Instagram, be sure to follow me on Instagram. But yeah, I think I was just basically saying there's a serious reason why I do everything that I do, right? And I feel like I'm misunderstood a lot. And it's like, you know, I've gotten a lot of the strength and reinforcement to walk my path and be who I am because of these dances, because of the embodied wisdom, the embodied knowledge that I've learned from these Afro-Indigenous deities, okay, and practices that came before me. If I say that I'm into traditional foods, okay, and traditional methods of being healthy, and these dances were so important, okay, they have healing properties, okay, you know, slavery in the Americas was very harsh. They tried hard to, you know, erase our history, what we come from, our cosmologies. And a lot of that is retained in the arts, okay? This is the reason why I'm such a student of the dances, okay? It's because it feels good to do them. But I've learned so much from embodying these dances. So this is just something I'm trying to verbalize, okay? But sometimes when I dance, when I do things, I may not be doing a gay day dance. I could be dancing to some trap music from Atlanta and some thongs, and I still have that same mindset. Who gives a fuck? We all come from sex, okay? We're here because our parents had sex. Whoop-de-fucking-do. We're sexual beings. Don't we all like good sex? If you don't like good sex, something's wrong with you, okay? Straight up. We're here because our parents had sex. We live and we die. The only purpose of sex is not just to reproduce, neither though, okay? There's health properties, there's healing properties behind it. I don't feel like anybody's sexuality should be suppressed, okay? I just don't believe in that. And so if people are in a monogamous relationship, nobody's sexual energy and sexuality is oppressed, great. But the second it is, I think openness becomes something that should be a conversation, unless you want to hold somebody hostage in their misery, okay? So that's just my 2 cents. I'm going to end that here. Okay, whatever I didn't say, I'll put in my next video. I think you get the point. You might want to like study Gay Day some more and see what you learn. Okay, if you learned something from this, please share it. I hope you all. I just keep feeling like as soon as I stop, there's gonna be things I want to say, but I've been talking long enough. Next video. Okay, guys, thank you for listening. Have a good day. Bye.